Imagine a different timeline, a world where the early days of 2020 unfolded differently. What if the novel coronavirus SARS-CoV-2 never emerged? This is a thought experiment, a journey into a reality that might have been. We explore a world untouched by a global pandemic. The Covid-19 pandemic was a truly global event. It reshaped societies, economies, and individual lives. So to imagine its absence is to imagine a vastly different present. Many changes we now see as normal would not exist. The world of 2025 would feel very different. This exploration considers those differences, big and small. We will navigate through various aspects of life: global health, the economy, how we work, society, culture, and our personal experiences. What would these realms look like without the pandemic's shadow? We seek to understand the contours of this alternate path, a path humanity did not take, but could have. The most immediate, most profound difference is clear. Millions of lives would not have been lost. Globally, the death toll from COVID-19 was staggering. Each number, a person, a story, a family impacted. In this alternate world, those individuals are still with us. Families remain whole, untouched by that specific grief. Hospitals and healthcare systems would not face such strain. The images of overwhelmed emergency rooms would not exist. Doctors, nurses, and support staff would not be pushed to their limits. Routine medical care would continue without major disruption. Screenings, elective surgeries, regular checkups proceed as normal. Daily life would be free from the pervasive fear of infection. The simple act of breathing near others would not carry risk. Social distancing would not be a common term. Masks would remain primarily in medical settings. Freedom of movement, both local and international, would be unhindered. The constant low-level anxiety about catching or spreading a virus, that unseen burden would simply not be there. Furthermore, the condition known as long COVID would not emerge. This lingering illness affects many, even after mild infections. While lives are spared, a downside exists. Our global pandemic preparedness might remain underdeveloped. Covid-19, for all its tragedy, was a harsh teacher. It exposed critical weaknesses in our defenses. Without this stark lesson, a dangerous complacency could persist. We might believe we are safer than we truly are. The urgency to invest in public health infrastructure might be lower. A false sense of security could leave us vulnerable. The rapid development of vaccine technology was a triumph. Messenger RNA or mRNA vaccines were a game changer. Their swift creation and deployment was spurred by the pandemic's urgency. Without COVID-19, this technology might advance at a slower pace. Research would continue, but without that intense global focus. Future medical breakthroughs relying on mRNA tech might be delayed. Global cooperation on health crises could be less robust. The pandemic forced nations to share data and resources, albeit imperfectly. Without this shared global threat, such cooperation might not strengthen. Lessons about viral spread, containment, and communication remain unlearned. The networks built between scientists and public health officials, these might be weaker, less tested, less ready. Imagine the global economy without the COVID-19 shock. It would likely follow the trajectory seen in late 2019. Growth might be steady, if unspectacular, in many regions. There would be no sudden, sharp global recession. The widespread economic devastation caused by lockdowns would be avoided. Businesses would continue to operate, supply chains intact. Unemployment rates would not spike so dramatically. A picture of relative stability, not turmoil. Industries like tourism, travel, and hospitality would thrive. These sectors were among the hardest hit by the pandemic. Airlines would fly full schedules, hotels bustling with guests, restaurants and entertainment venues would operate at capacity. The millions employed in these industries would face no mass layoffs. Their livelihoods would remain secure, their futures brighter. The vibrant exchange of people and cultures through travel, this would continue enriching economies and lives. Global supply chains would likely remain more stable. The pandemic exposed their fragility. It led to shortages of everything from microchips to toilet paper. In a world without COVID-19, these disruptions are absent. Section 5. The office unchanged, work's slower evolution. The way we work would look quite different. Remote work would not have become so widespread so quickly. The great global experiment in working from home never happens. The traditional office model would continue to dominate. Most employees would commute daily to a central workplace. The demand for commercial office space would remain high. City centres would be bustling with daytime workers, a familiar rhythm of work life, largely unaltered. The digital transformation of businesses might proceed at a slower pace. The pandemic created an urgent need for digital tools for remote collaboration, e-commerce, and online services. Without this pressure, adoption of new technologies could be more gradual. Companies might feel less compelled to invest heavily in digital infrastructure. The Zoom boom might never occur. Innovation in workplace technology might follow a more leisurely path. Some efficiencies gained during the pandemic would be missed. The phenomenon known as the Great Resignation might not occur, or it would manifest differently on a smaller scale. The pandemic prompted many to reevaluate their careers and priorities. It shifted bargaining power in some sectors towards employees. Without this catalyst, workers might have fewer remote options. Section 6. Society's gentle flow. Norms and interactions preserved. Social norms and daily interactions would remain largely unchanged. Imagine a world where handshakes are still common greetings, where hugs between friends and family are spontaneous. Large gatherings, festivals, and crowded events occur without a second thought. The subtle anxieties around physical proximity would not exist. Social fabrics would not be strained by distancing measures. The concept of a social bubble would be unfamiliar. Life would proceed with its pre-pandemic ease of interaction. Mask wearing would not become a common public sight. It would remain confined mostly to medical or specific industrial settings. The debates and politicization surrounding mask mandates would be absent. Public health measures in general might be less contentious. The intense scrutiny and division over individual liberties versus collective good. This particular conflict would not be ignited by a pandemic. Society might be less polarized along these specific lines, though other divisions would surely exist. Community bonds might not have strengthened in the same way. Adversity often has a way of bringing people together. The pandemic saw neighbors helping neighbors, communities rallying to support vulnerable members and essential workers. Section 7. Cultural continuums, art, politics, and gatherings as usual. The cultural landscape would continue its pre-2020 trajectory. Live music venues would be packed, theatres would present full seasons of plays and performances, museums and art galleries would welcome visitors without restrictions. Festivals, large and small, would draw crowds. The vibrant pulse of human creativity expressed in shared spaces. This would beat strongly, uninterrupted by closures or capacity limits. Artists and performers would have stable platforms for their work. Artistic expression would not be so heavily shaped by pandemic themes. The isolation, grief, fear, and resilience that inspired so much art. These specific muses would be absent. Painters, writers, musicians, and filmmakers would explore other subjects. The collective trauma of the pandemic would not be a shared reference point. Art reflecting on lockdowns, social distancing, or viral threats. This genre would simply not exist. Culture would evolve along different thematic lines. The political discourse, globally and nationally, would be different. The Covid-19 pandemic dominated government agendas for years. It influenced elections, policy decisions, and international relations. Without it, political leaders would focus on other pressing issues. Section 8. Classrooms unchanged, education's traditional march. Schools, colleges, and universities would operate as they always had. Classrooms would be full of students and teachers. The sudden shift to online learning would not happen. Educational institutions would not scramble to adapt curricula for remote delivery. The familiar rhythms of the academic year would continue. School bells ringing, campuses bustling, libraries full. The traditional model of in-person instruction would remain the norm. A sense of continuity for students, educators, and families. Section 9. Personal odysseys, individual lives, and the echo of 2019. Individual lives would follow more predictable paths. Personal plans, weddings, travel, career changes, family gatherings, these would proceed without the massive disruptions caused by the pandemic. Milestones would be celebrated as intended. The agonizing decisions about postponing or cancelling significant life events, these would not be a common experience. the sense of lives put on hold, of lost time. This collective feeling would be largely absent from our consciousness. The profound psychological impact of the pandemic would be avoided. The pervasive fear of illness and death, the grief from losing loved ones, the stress of lockdowns and economic uncertainty, the loneliness of isolation. These factors contributed to a global rise in mental health issues. In an unfallen world, this collective psychological burden is lighter. Our baseline for mental well-being might be significantly higher. We would not share the collective global experience of the pandemic. This event, for all its tragedy, was a unifying force in some ways. It connected humanity through a shared threat and a common struggle. It fostered empathy and a sense of global citizenship for some.